Hello and welcome to today's See You Next Thursday. And well, what can we do today? It's unfortunately we're missing Seamus. He's busy with his new modelling career, so I don't know how much more we'll be able to get him on here. I'm afraid I don't know if we can get him anymore. Like we've got to sort out contracts and all that now apparently, and has to have pictures of him instead of we're not allowed to. That's why we've got to go with a blank screen in the background today, because we've still got to deal with we've got to image rights and stuff to deal with him, and so I'm afraid it's just me, Ed One, and obviously Sport Billy, Ed 25. We had to bring you in today, didn't we? Really, we couldn't not have you on because
no,
Everton.
You're right.
I think you just
good evening, everyone.
I think you just need to go and talk about Everton, mate.
I will do. Let me start by saying I think we all know the biggest story of the week is Everton Football Club and the absolute mess that is Everton Football Club. I'd like to firstly thank Frank for his service. I think he's a good man, good football man, but the wrong club at the wrong time for Frank. And to be pretty fair, he did make a mess of it. He weren't good to watch. He never had the skill set to get a team like Everton firing. And although he tried his best, and I'll say he's tried his best, it just wasn't the gig that he should have took. Everton should have offered to.
Sorry, I know I said I'd let you just run on this, but I've just got to stop. I just need to ask you, do you actually believe that Frank could have done a good job somewhere else and it's just Everton that's the problem, rather than he's just, like as he's proved at Derby and Chelsea, just shitted the job?
I think he's jumped in too quick. He got the Derby job. He got seconded by Chelsea to come and do a job while they were in a bit of turmoil. And he's not up to a Premier League club, that's for certain. And there's a doubt whether he's actually a championship manager. After what happened at Derby, he had the best squad that there's ever been in the championship, I'd say. And he made a bit of a mess of that and spent a lot of money with Derby. And he went to Chelsea and then he come to Everton. Hoping that is the next big thing. You've seen what happened with Arteta, manager coming in. I know he'd been under Pep, but I think they were looking for a bounce like that of Frank Lampard, a good football man, a man who could maybe get players to come to Everton. But that hasn't been the case. So what's happened this week is that obviously Frank's got the sack and Everton are in absolute turmoil at the moment, second from bottom on the same point as Southampton.
Just one thing, sorry, I just thought of something before. What did you think of Moshiri's part in all this? Because obviously he's given a few interviews in the week preceding up to it saying that it wasn't his decision to make, etc., didn't he? So who did decide to sack him then?
I don't know, but he actually come out and said it's not my decision, which is absolutely amazing for a chairman and owner of a football club to come out and say it's not my decision. It really is his decision who comes and who goes at the club, and that was just a cop-out. It was a cop-out because of what happened with the supporters who were up in arms, because we all know what happened with the Headlock Gate, a bogus story made up to stop the fans protesting, which is what he eventually done. And that was just an absolute disgrace, and he lost all credibility, Moshiri, and the board, by the way, all of the board, even Bill Kenwright. They never attended, yet they attend a game in London. All of them attended a game in London, West Ham, the last game they played. Moshiri was there, Denise Barrett-Baxendale was there, Bill Kenwright was there, as well as others. and they couldn't even go to their own ground. Moshiri has not actually been there for 17 months at the Everton games at home. Not been to one in 17 months, which is an absolute disgrace for a chairman who's supposed to want to be doing good for the club. That speaks for itself. And it's an absolute mess, Trish, isn't it?
I just don't get. I don't get what they were thinking of. I mean, surely the time to sack him was during the
World Cup.
Yeah, as soon
before
as
the World Cup started.
Oh yeah, so I mean during the break. Sorry, is what I was trying to say. As soon as the Premier League stopped, yeah. But instead you waited, and you've just got him more trouble. His record was appalling even then. I mean, everyone knows Everton fans hated Rafa Benitez. His record was terrible with the. But Frank's actually got worse than his. You know, his record was worse than his, and always has been. You know, they keep saying about how he saved Everton last season, but like his record doesn't. You know, his results didn't back up that theory. I think the fans had more to do with it personally.
Yeah, very possibly. But what's happened since is that obviously the headlock gate has been discredited. Never actually happened. Fake news. I think you had a relation at the club who knew that from the start. Everyone knew that it was fake news, and it's brought the club into disrepute. Really, it's everyone's saying what a bad state of affairs there is, you know. And
it is embarrassing.
Other people again. It is embarrassing. It's embarrassing to be an Everton supporter at the moment. Not just because of the way they're playing. The club, the way it's been dragged through the mud, actually. And it's got no credibility whatsoever. And so it happened that the lad come to sign for us. What's his name, sis?
Danjuma.
From Villarreal. Who?
Danjuma
come to sign for us. Got publicity photographs, and then when he seen the state of the club and Tottenham come in with a bid, he was right out the door. He basically said, I'm not signing for you because of the mess the club is in.
Well, he was signing because Frank Lampard had convinced him to sign, and they sacked Frank Lampard. Well, why didn't he get the signing done first, then get rid of Frank Lampard if he really wanted? You know what I mean? I mean, it just...
I was reading about it was he actually agreed after Frank had been sacked, actually, but I don't know how true that is. I know Frank wanted him there. He'd have anyone at the moment.
It'd been all agreed long before because he'd done his medical, so that was a day two before.
All right.
So you know when he was having and he had the photographs done, that was before Frank Lampard was sacked. So.
The way I read it was the other way around.
Yeah, I don't see how he could have been sacked before when he'd done all the photographs and that. From what I was told, the way I understand it, anyway. Maybe I've got bad information on that, so your information might be better.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, according to the club, Frank had already been sacked. The club were questioned on it. How can you have a man sign for a manager and then sack the manager?
Oh, well.
And he said they're saying that it was all done after Frank went, but how true that is with our board, you wouldn't really know.
I was going to say if your board said it, then obviously it's bound to be true because they've never put out a false information of any kind, would they? No. No. Honest as the day's long. I mean, even the owners is like unknown. That's how honest they are. We can't even be sure who owns the club. Yeah.
Well, Moshiri put out a statement. Well, I don't know whether he put a statement, but a statement was made that he's looking to sell the club. That was early on in the week. Moshiri has come out since and said he's not selling the club. He's looking for further investments in the club. Now, I don't know whether that's to get round for FFP and so they can sign a couple of players with a new influx of cash. But whatever it is, we're now in dire straits and we're looking for a manager. And even us looking for a manager has turned into a circus, really. The likes of Marco Bielsa, I'm I'm not. I'd have preferred Dyche, to be honest with you, but even Marco Bielsa would be an upgrade on Frank, and he's starting to be dubious now whether to take the job. He wants to take it in the summer, but not at this time, so he can have a pre-season. As you said before, that would have been alleviated if they'd have sacked Frank when they should have, and he'd have had 6 weeks to work with them maybe while the World Cup was on. Get to know the players, get to know the club. And he might have took it then, but I believe he's what he wants, and I'm happy for him to do it, is to bring all his own men in and ship everyone out at Everton. He wants all his own people in, and it's going to be £1 million a month is what he wants. His wages, his coach's wages, his people around him, looking for the welfare and all that. And that's £1 million one. Now, I don't think that's a bad wage when you look at it, £1 million a month. It's 250,000 a week, but there's managers on more than £250,000 a week.
Yeah, and that's his entire coaching staff.
And that sort of money.
That's his entire coaching staff as well. That's not just him.
Yeah, that's why I say I don't think it's a bad deal, actually, £1 million a month.
If he does what
in
he
the
did,
grand scheme.
Oh, was it Lille or was it Marseille? I can't remember. One of the French clubs he was in charge
Marseille, I think it was.
Yeah, he's had a couple of French clubs he's been in charge of, but one of them he went in. I'm pretty sure it was Lille, but I'd have to check. Ed too would be a better person to ask for this because his memory is much better. He went in and he basically had a look at the training ground and that and said, I'm sure it was Lille because they went on and won the title a few years later. And one of the things that, yes, it must have been, I think was it Lille that won it a few years recently? Whoever it was, anyway, they were saying about that, or they were doing well, and basically the coaching staff were all saying about what a great job he did because he had them rip down the training ground basically and rebuild it to his specification, completely rebuilt, changed it all around, where the pitches went and all that, and how they were laid out, how it was laid out, everything was all changed to suit what he wanted, and it turned out to be a masterstroke because it didn't work out for him because he walked out not so long afterwards. But following managers have benefited from it. It does. It's long term his effect rather than short term. I mean, Leeds have benefited from having him there, even if they're they're struggling under Marsh, but that's more Marsh.
Yeah, but
what about Duncan?
What do you think of the manager situation, Tris?
Well,
where do you think Everton should go, and where do you think they will go?
Well, I would have said Duncan Ferguson was in with a shout, but not who I'd kick. But I'm saying I would have said he would surely be a name in the running, but he's just taken a Forest Green job, so that's him out.
Yeah.
It is probably lucky because I can't imagine he'd make a. I just don't see it with him, to be honest. I mean, he needs.
Maybe I don't want him back.
No, he doesn't. He was involved in too many things that I just don't think belong at a football club, personally. And I know he's a nice guy, he's generous and all that, people say, but he's just involved in things off the pitch that, you don't really want in your manager, do you?
No, you don't.
So that's him out. Rooney was another one who was being floated around. Thankfully, he doesn't seem to be in the running at all either, because I can't see what he's. People think.
But who does, and is really coming in the bet. Is Sam Allardyce, which surprised me.
I think that's more just.
I know he's a fireman and he puts some fires and everything else, but I couldn't also believe the site. Quite a few of our lads on the site advocating for Sam to come back.
Yeah, I can't understand that.
Surprised me. No, I can't.
That just shows how bad the situation is. I mean, why bother anyway?
Well, exactly.
Why not just get Dyche if that's the way you want to? If the problem that people are saying with Dyche is the way he plays football, well, Sam Allardyce is no better.
No.
In fact, worse.
I'd say so, yeah. I'd certainly say so.
So, I don't...
But the thing with Dyche, everyone's complaining about the the style of football. That's the style of football Everton are going to have to play to get out of this mess if they've still got a chance, which is dubious at the moment.
Well, the thing is,
you're going to have to go on.
The thing is, we don't know that that's the style of play he'd employ anyway, because he never had the chance to go for. And there were times when they did play some decent foot passing triangles and that when he had a decent squad, and then they just stopped investing in it because they hit financial trouble again.
Yeah.
So they stopped investing in the team.
People are thinking that that's going to happen with Everton as well, because then they can't get people in, and what they've got isn't good enough to stay up. So they're in a catch-22 as well, and that's what people are saying. That can Dyche, are you stuck with Dyche if he wants a 4-year deal, 3-year deal? I don't know what he wants. I'd be guessing.
But if you did end up going down, who's the best man to bring you back up again? It's going to be Sean Dyche, I would say.
Sean Dyche, I think. Yeah, he's got the experience,
and he's done it. But he's done it on a massive budget deficit where he had to literally sell half his squad just to get, to keep the club alive when he first took over Burnley.
And with you, Tracy, he'd be the man. Well, I've said from the start, and I think you mentioned it as well. He looks like the prime candidate for the Everton job because of what he does. He gets players playing, he gets teams working hard, and that's been our biggest failing. He
brings players together as a team. That's the big key factor. Is his thing is all about teamwork. It may not be attractive to watching this, while he's got crap players, but you're not going to get good football out of crap players because they'll just lose in the Prem. You can get away with it in a one-off cup match, but over the course of a season, you just can't get away. You can't get away with it. Teams eventually, like Blackpool, etc., they just go back down again because you can't maintain it. That's what happens with all these teams that come up. They play good, expansive football, and they just haven't got the quality of players to compete at the top, playing good, expansive football. So they end up going back down to the level that their players are actually quality. The quality of the players takes them back down again to where their level is.
I thoroughly agree, yeah.
And you need the dogs
of war. It's an absolute
mess
mentality, yeah, that's what we need. The dogs of war mentality.
Yeah,
even Lee Carsley's been touted, he was one of the dogs of war, but, to come from the England setup and take over, because people are now realising that you're not going to do it by playing pretty football. You're going to be in the Championship. And that's where we're heading at the moment, I think. Unfortunately, I can't see no way out.
The worry is, if you go down, I can't see you having an easy route back up. It's ringing hard league to get out of the best of times.
Absolutely.
But
absolutely.
You haven't really got many to sell.
You look like Sunderland when they went down. Man City, when they went down a good few years ago, they went back into Division 1 before they could rebuild.
Most of them seem to.
Yeah, it's not an easy job getting out of that division. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, look at Sunderland.
And I doubt whether Everton. Yeah, absolutely.
Forest were down for 20 odd years. Leeds were down for 15, something like that.
Yeah. It's not easy to get back up. Everyone was saying they're a big club, my ass. You know what I mean? It's nothing to do with that. It's about having the quality of players and battling players to get you out of it, and Everton haven't got that at the moment.
Well, I don't know. Gordon seems to have a bit of fight in him, but apparently it's always against the club by the sound of it.
Or Cody. Cody. Because allegedly they had a spat and Connor Cody gave him a club round the year, and he hasn't been since at the club. So what does that tell you about the mentality of the players? His mentality, it's just, it's him fighting. I think Frank lost the dressing room in the end. That's another reason that we're in such turmoil. I didn't want him to. I was thinking he might actually do a good job, but I was wrong. He never done a good job. And But he should have been sacked a long time before he did, Chris,
Mm. It was a bad appointment. I mean, they've made bad appointments after bad appointment, and that's the worry
Yeah,
you've got to have. It's not really down to the manager and the playing staff really.
no,
It's
no. But this isn't a new thing with Everton. It's been going on for 7 years since Mashiri
mm,
actually come to the club. Is
yeah.
that it's such a mishmash of players. There's like 3 Koeman signings. There's still couple of Marco Silva signings, couple of who else took over?
Oh, you've
There's
forgotten.
a,
Go
yeah, I
on,
have, yeah.
go on, Bill. Showing your age
It's
now.
just a mishmash of players. And one of the lads on the site, a fella called Witty, he come and he said it's like Frankenstein, trying to build a monster out of different parts, and that's exactly what's happened. There's so many managers come in and out that we're left with just a mishmash of players, no team ethic, and players trying to fit square pegs in round holes. That's what we're trying to do at the moment. And none of them seem to have that fight, that will. And the only way we're going to get round it was the financial fair play, is to get rid of a couple of our, what you'd say, better players. For me, there's only 3 who were worth any money. That'd be Pickford, it'd be Anthony Gordon, and Calvert-Lewin. Sorry, 4 with Onana.
I was going
And,
to say, Onana was the one I was thinking you were mean. I was trying to figure
yeah,
out who the others were.
yeah. But I think you'd get money for Calvert-Lewin. Why, I don't know, but I think you'd get money for him. And I think you'd get money for Gordon. I think you'd get money for Pickford, which you definitely would. And, as you say, Onana. But where would that leave the club then? If you're selling your best players, you haven't got much chance.
Well, you've been offloading your youth players as well, so it's not like you can just bring some of
Yeah,
them in to have a go.
I
Like,
know.
your best youth were being got rid of, which I don't understand.
I know. It's just a mess from top to bottom, Tris, and I can't see a way out. I can't see how Everton are going to survive. If you've got passion and they're all fighting, you say, yeah, but they're not. And if you've got some skillful players who can win your games, we haven't.
So
We don't put crosses in, and players are out injured, or are they out injured? People are asking, especially with the likes of Calvert-Lewin, who's doing photo shoots and everything else and he's not available for training. And I'm not decrying the lad; he can have his photo shoots, but he's got to be available for the club
yeah,
and do
that's it.
things. That's the biggest problem that the supporters have got. And it's nothing against Calvert-Lewin or his modelling career, which he's obviously into. It's that, shouldn't you be really, instead of going to London and doing a photo shoot, shouldn't you be on the treatment table getting proper treatment so you can get back and play football as soon as possible? And that aches people, it really does.
And anyway, when you're in the situation, it's not like you're you're a top tier team, one of the top 4, and so he can turn around and say, yeah, I'm already a top class player. He should be
Yeah,
looking at it. He should be working on his game if he is fit.
absolutely you should, yeah. And he's not the only one there, Chris. I'm just mentioning Calvert-Lewin because of the the contract he's got to do modelling and things like that. But there's other players there as well who
Tom Davis
don't give 100%.
with
Tom
his
Davis,
nice
yeah.
dressing gown outfit. What the
Yeah,
fuck was that all about? And who's the
I
other
know.
lad? Who's the other lad? Oh, it was Gordon. It looked
It
like
was
he's
Gordon.
kicking. Yeah, the other one is the other
Yeah.
Jimmy. But I mean, you were saying about it being a mixed bag of signings, but like that shouldn't be a problem. 2 or 3 players from every other manager. By now, they should be moulded into a team. But a good manager should be able to get them playing together. They've spent
You
long
wouldn't think
enough
so, but
there.
Have we got any good managers there?
Yeah.
But they've gone on to do other things. Marco Silva, the job he's done at Fulham.
Mm.
He's doing really well there up into seventh place, sixth, seventh place. Doing well. Koeman's doing all right where he is now. So, is it the manager or is it the whole club that's an absolute joke?
Definitely the whole club. So, the obviously, I was just thinking with the signings. Should I think we need to touch on the Kia Jarabchin thing.
Yeah, just being a big spat.
Yeah, you were just explaining to me, so you'll have to explain it to everyone else as well.
Yeah, well, we all know that people weren't happy with Kia Jarabchin about bringing players to the club because he's obviously an agent for players, and he was the one giving advice, apparently, to Mashiri, one of his advisors, only one. But Kia Jarabchin has come and said that's not the case. He's only ever suggested 3 players, which is 3 of our better players, to come. And what happened was Jamie Carragher then got involved and called him out for ruining the club, giving Mashiri bad advice, to which Kia Jarabchin retorted with, all you can do is spit at kids and you're uneducated, and so you don't know nothing about football. And there's been an ongoing spat between them. So even people outside the club are coming in with the tuppence worth. And it's got really nasty.
Yeah, I got to say, the fact that he's retorted with that suggests to me that he's got no real response to what's said.
Yeah.
Because Carragher was a dickhead. What he did was low, and he deserves to take shit for it. Because nobody's going to argue about that at all. But
no,
this isn't the time. You don't give someone, when you've got an answer for what he's accusing you of. You make you answer it back, don't you? Unless you've got no answer, in which case you deflect. And that's what that seems to me like, a deflection rather than a genuine. Turn it into a fight rather than actually answering the question, because you're in trouble if you do. If you see what I mean, you've got no rebuttal, so everyone knows Jarabchin's been a part of it. The reason why I don't think he's actually an agent, though, is he? I don't think he's legally allowed to be an agent in Europe, is he? This is the thing, because all his players are part owned.
Yeah, but he owned. I don't know if you remember years ago when he owned Palos Tevez and Mascherano, and he owned half of them and got half of their contracts when they were signing for West Ham.
Was he the one with the Aguero as well, when he took him to, was it Atletico Madrid before he went to City?
It could have been Chris, but I wouldn't be sure on that. He's had a dealings in quite a few clubs, and he's classed in the media as a super agent. He's not that super, and but he's deflected from his responsibility and said that it's nothing to do with me. It's to do with Mashiri. So he's cut himself away from that now and said he wasn't the Kia wasn't the one who he was listening to, and got all these players.
It does seem like all the rats are deserting the sinking ship and leaving Mashiri there stranded, doesn't it? He does seem to be the one everything's being blamed on him, when he isn't even the actual, you know what I mean? He's just the front man, let's be honest.
Yeah, he is. We all know that. But in the end, the buck stops with the owner, even though he doesn't seem to think so, because he's actually stated that it wasn't his decision to sack Frank.
Exactly. I mean, to me, I was wondering, is that an admittance? Is he trying to blame the fans again, which is obviously a big possibility, or was that his public admittance that actually he's only a front man and Usmanov's the one making the decisions? I mean, that's because you could take it either way, I think.
Yeah, you could, yeah. Or is he trying to throw Bill Kenwright under the bus now and say
Ah,
it's nothing
yeah, I
to
hadn't
do with
thought of that.
me, you know, and get on someone else's case because, that Bill has not the greatest press for a long time at Everton.
Hmm.
He's Everton through and through, but I think it might be the time for all of them to go, to be honest with you. Like, Grantchester wouldn't work with, Lord Grantchester, he wouldn't work with Bill Kenwright and
Hmm.
packed in, as it, but that was in 2000. Said he can't work with Bill Kenwright. He was only a minority shareholder, anyway, 8%. But there's other things come out now about uh, the board not getting on. And, it's a mess, isn't it? It's an absolute mess at the top. And that's filtered down now to the manager, the players. Everything has gone tits up, really, hasn't it? And I can't see a way out for Everton Football Club, Trish. I really can't. I wish I could say, everyone's saying, yeah, there's still 18 games to go, but it's not enough time. It's not enough time, I don't think, to save Everton. Much as I want them to stay on.
Yeah, I certainly think if it's Bielsa that's taken over, it would seem like a difficult. I mean, I love Bielsa. I think he's fantastic. He's mad as a march, yeah,
Yeah.
but he's absolutely brilliant, and he does make players better. His style of football's fantastic. It's not really practical, but it's brilliant to watch. Um,
Yeah.
but and he does
But
bring in
he's
long
not
term,
coming on.
but he's not going to turn a club around in a.
Well, that's what he's saying. He's,
Mm,
he's saying, give me the job in the summer. Whether it be in the Premier League or the Championship, I'll take over. But he needs a pre-season to get up to speed, to get them up to speed, and that's what he's saying, and that's the stumbling block of why he hasn't signed yet.
yeah, because that's why he's
And
holding talks.
yeah, yeah, but it's not just about the money. £1 million a month for him and his staff. He wants to get rid of everyone at Everton Football Club, which I think is a great idea.
Yeah,
He wants
literally
all the
everyone. Just
coaches
start
out.
again. Just start again. Rip everybody out. Literally, tea ladies, players,
Yeah,
everything.
but even ex-players that are on the board now, like Graham Sharp,
Oh,
I love Graham Sharp as a player, but he's
mm,
the one who had a go at the fans. He's supposed to be the fans' liaison officer as well, to tell the fans what's going on at the club. And nobody knows what's going on at the club.
I'm so
And
glad you brought him
he
up.
was having to go with the fans. And, and for Sharpie to do that, you know what I mean? I liked him as a player. Very good player. And I think he was good for Everton Football Club. But now he's on the board. He's just kowtowing to whoever's making decisions, because I don't know who's making the decisions. It's Everton Football Club now.
It is a very odd situation when the fan liaison officer is coming out and just slagging off the fans. It's.
Yeah, well, he was part of the of Ed Lockgate.
Mm,
He never come out and decried that, to say that was false. And it's just an absolute mess, isn't it? And it's sad to see a club like Everton, who are a big club, whether you like it or not. They are a big club. They've got great history as well. And you don't want to see clubs like that in such a mess, whether it be Everton. I'm an Everton supporter, but
mm,
even if it was another club, I'd still, I
yeah.
didn't like it happening to Leeds, who I thought were a big club who went down. Man United went down not that many years ago, and you want teams like that in the Premier League. You want good clubs with good histories and good
Raz,
fan bases.
Raz, I don't care about that. I just want the team that's playing the best football. But I want them to go down not because they're an absolute sham, but I want them to go down. If a team goes down, I'm saying I want them to go down not because of the idiots running it, but because other teams are playing better football. That's how it should be,
Yeah,
and it's
that's
not
that's
working
fair.
out
Yeah.
like that. That's what bothers
No,
me
it's
more
not.
than. It shouldn't be like that. What's happening is you've got imbeciles running it who haven't got a clue, and they shouldn't be.
Absolutely.
They should be getting the right people in, and instead they're getting they're just making things worse. Oh, it's frustrating. It's
Yeah.
it's nice having the small clubs in the Premier League. I personally think. I mean, in the 90s, Norwich were a breath of fresh air, and then in Ipswich
Blackpool,
for a
yeah,
period,
Blackpool come
and
on.
and Blackpool when they came up. I mean, I don't care about the size of the club. It's nice to just have teams that have deserved it come up and play good football, coming up and impressing.
Yeah,
That's what I like. Fulham, for instance, they're not a big club, really, but
no.
you enjoy. They're good to watch, so who cares whether they're a big club or not? Whereas Everton, then they're a big club, yeah. They at one time until very recently, you were the fourth. You had the fourth most trophies in English football. I think you're down to about sixth now, aren't you? Though.
Sixth they are, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
sixth.
So like clearly you're a big club. That that's undeniable. You've got the sixth most trophies in English football history. So that's huge. But you're that's a mess. Let's be honest. I mean, it does
Yeah,
need
this
ripping
is, I
down and
couldn't agree with
starting
you more.
again. But the problem is, yeah, you're still going to have the same owner who's clearly not got a clue what he's doing. Just think how Arsenal have got away with it, though. Because it wasn't
Yeah.
so long ago. The reason why Usmanov had to use Mashiri as a front in the first place, for those who don't actually know why we're talking about Usmanov being the owner rather than Mashiri, what happened was Usmanov was trying to buy. He's an Arsenal fan. He had a large portion of Arsenal at the
Yeah.
time. He was one of the main, not majority owner, but one of the main owners, like because it was split between quite a few people then. And he was involved in a power battle with Kroenke to
Yeah.
buy
Bankruptcy, yeah.
Arsenal, and he realised he was losing, but he didn't want to back out straight away, just back out and lose all his investment. So, but Everton came up on the market, and he decided to throw his lot in with Everton. But obviously, he couldn't own two Premier League clubs. He couldn't own such large
Yeah, yeah.
portions. So what he did is he fronted the money to Mashiri, who's basically his accountant. That's all he is. He had no money whatsoever. There's no evidence of him ever making money. Yet all of a sudden, he's got billions to go and buy Everton and throw down the drain in it.
And he
So,
also owns Usmanov Finch Farm, Everton's training facility. And still in his name, actually, even though what's happened in Ukraine has made it difficult for him to invest any more money. But it's such, everything's underhanded at the club. No one's got respect for him anymore. And it's sad for me to see as an Evertonian. But everyone was hoping when Mashiri did 7 years ago come in as the front man, as you say, and put so many, $500 million into the club. And everyone was saying, oh, we've been wanting money all the time, and now we've got it. We should be up with the big boys. And it's turned totally the opposite way. We're now in the relegation because of Mashiri. And we were plucky old Everton years ago. Not much money, but always give a team a game. Where no one wanted to play Everton, especially at Goodison Park. And now, even people are talking about the investment for the ground, which is coming on a street, by the way. But do you really want a ground like that in the Championship? Are people going to invest in the club that are going down or will be down? It's there's no light at the end of the tunnel where you can say, oh, at least this could happen.
And you've
And
lost
good thing.
You've lost Liverpool's World Heritage Site status as well to build this stadium, and it might turn into a white elephant because your team's not going to be able to fit. Because let's be honest, much as you'd love to think fans would be loyal and will carry on going, you know full well that no matter what the team is, a large portion of them are going to say, sod this for the game of soldiers and not bother going to watch them.
Yeah, you will get that. You'll always get that with teams, no matter whether it's Everton or anybody else. You do lose a portion of supporters if you go down.
The only time I can remember it not happening, and I hate to say this because, obviously being a Liverpool fan, I hate to give Man United any credit, but in 1974, this, before my time. I was only born in 1974, so I don't remember it. But I do know that when they went down in '74, the following season their gates went up,
Yeah.
which is an unusual occurrence. But
Yeah, they are a massive brand now. Everton are nowhere near as big a brand as Man United. Well, no club are, but
it's a different era as well.
Yeah, it is, Trish. Yeah, it is different. But I can't see our way out at the moment.
So what happens with the ground as well? The other thing I was thinking is, you've got council investment in that ground. Has that been fully replaced yet? And if not, what's going to happen with that? Because, obviously you lost that when you make...
They're still looking for investors. People will invest in the ground because it's not just a ground for football. It's a ground for the city. It's going to be other things, events, concerts, all sorts of things like that on it, so it is an investment in the city. But as you say, the city council themselves, who will put money in, with the financial situation right throughout government now, they're not going to be putting in what you should, what you're hoping they put in.
I think we should explain the situation there. That was because your mate, who was in charge of the mayor, city mayor, Joe Anderson, was a big Everton fan and was also throwing brown envelopes around and receiving backhanders from all sorts and so there was a lot of dodgy dealing going on there. So
that's just conjecture at this time, Tess.
Well, we all know it's true. But luckily he's been replaced by Joe Anderson. But she doesn't seem to be doing the same. She doesn't seem to be so keen to invest, which is strange. But it is odd. Yeah. How did they find another Joe Anderson to become mayor after Joe Anderson?
Yeah, but I think the ground will go ahead anyway. I think they've come too far for it not to go ahead. So I expect the ground to go, to get finished and go ahead, because it's more to do with the city than it is, and the investments in the city than what it is to do with the football club.
Well, the city council would have to find investment if need be. This is the thing; they can't leave that as a half-finished stadium on the edge of because it's right on where it is. It's right on the city. You know what I mean? It's right on the edge of the city, on the waterfront. People see it from miles around. You can't have that left. You've got to have that finished.
Yeah, it will get finished. There is investments coming. It's when it comes now. Mercedes more or less said that the ground will still be going ahead, and he reckons he's got investments, but whether you can believe anything Farhad Mercedes says at the moment is another thing.
Or at any time, really. I mean, he's accountant for starters. How many of them, they spend their days trying to find loopholes with things. It's not really, their job on it is not the most trustworthy. Let's be honest. It's a hard. No. I wouldn't want to do it.
And the best thing, if Bielsa did take over, one of his remits is that he gets rid of everyone at a football club, every coach from under 18 levels to the first team, every coach to go. What, mate?
Is there anyone you keep? Hang on, I'm just going
to... Absolutely not. It has been a culture for years of Everton, of jobs for the boys. People like John Ebro, Unsworth, Danny Jeffers coming in.
You've got,
Jose Baxter.
Yeah, you've
got done for drugs, and he's got on the
strange one. But you got like Kevin Thelwell. Would you keep him?
Yeah. I don't know. Tris, I don't know much about Kevin Thelwell. He was supposed to. He's come with a great reputation, but so did Marcel Brands, and he couldn't make it work. Walsh couldn't make it work. So now we've got Thelwell. Is it the director of football have much say?
A fair amount, but I was looking at his resume. Just looking at what he's done in the past. He was only at New York Red Bulls for a couple of years before going on to Wolves, and in that period, that was when they had George Mendes doing the signings.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
mean, how
Of
much of
course
the
they did,
work,
yeah.
how much of it was actually him anyway?
So,
You know,
yeah.
how much is he actually? You know, what is his job? What's he actually done? I mean, you don't know. I mean, was he in charge of anything really?
Under his watch, the likes of Dwight McNeil and Neil Maupay got a
Exactly.
contract with Everton. So, can you trust them? Can you trust a man who's making stands feel like that to actually pull you out of anything? I don't know whether you can, sir. So I'm on the fence because I don't know enough about it to comment on Thelwell's job. But what he's done up to now hasn't been very convincing, I must say.
Yeah, and his record
You
doesn't
don't know
impress me.
where the power lies in that boardroom of whether he got told to take these players on or he really wanted the players.
Well,
You just don't know because there's so many lies going about.
well, if he's the director of sport, then he's got to take responsibility for the signings because he's the head of recruitment. If he's decided that if he's the one that's saying they're no good, then he should walk away. If they're not listening to him, as simple as that, in my opinion.
You would think so.
So if he's not strong enough to do that, then you get the blame, lad. Sorry. So you've lost Lampard, Edwards, and Clement, and Ashley Cole have all gone, but you've still got Alan Kelly there, haven't you, the goalkeeping coach?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's been there since 2017. Yeah, 2017. Yeah. I'm not sure. He's stayed there through Ancelotti. That was the other one we were trying to think of.
Yeah.
Ancelotti, Benitez, and Lampard. They've all kept him there. So maybe they must be liking what he's done. Would you say? I mean, Pickford looked better than he did do under him, but
he's not a problem for Everton at the moment. He's our most saleable asset. And I think he's a decent keeper, to be honest. I know people don't, but I think he's not a problem.
But
go on.
I know. I was thinking the coaches there, because you were saying Bielsa wants rid of them all. I'm thinking Kelly seems to be doing a decent job. He's improved Pickford no end.
Yeah, but he might have, if he's got his own ideas that he wants a clean slate. Out with the old, in with the new. I'm all for that. Because as I was saying before, the jobs for the boys' culture at the club has been an absolute joke. Absolute no marks coming in as coaches.
Well,
because they've got something. Baines is still there at the moment. Will Baines go? I like Baines. I think he's a good person. I think he's a good. He might become a good coach. But if Bielsa wants shot at a lot of them, I'd say get rid of a lot of them. I wouldn't want him not to take the job because he's got to get lumbered with all these players who've been hanging on for years.
Well, the thing I'd certainly want to be looking at is your sports science department, your fitness coaches, your strength and conditioning coach, your medical department, all that. There's a real problem there. I mean, you've got an injury prevention physio, and yet you've always having problems with injuries, haven't you? So
that's why I think
they've got to be overhauled.
Bielsa's thing is that he wants a clean sweep and get rid of a lot of them or bring the old men in. He wants to do it from the bottom up.
I've got to ask,
maybe that's the way to go. Go on, mate.
What does David Harrison do? He's your head of football operations. What's that? What's he actually do?
God only knows. It's a lot of them have got jobs that you don't really do tests. Denise Barrett-Baxendale come in with a great reputation. She was going to sort out all the finance for the club. And that's turned out a mess, Where did he get these people from? She'd had something to do with Mashiri before, I believe. And so he's trusted her. But, the money side of it's one of the biggest problems. And, you've got to look at her as well. CEO and all that. So I don't know where we go from here, Trish, really. And very sad for Everton supporters. because they're so frustrated. And I've got to say that the derby in 2.5, 3 weeks' time, whatever it is going to be one of the nastiest games to go to in history of football. I sent you a video the other week of what happened
all along
after
County
the West
Road.
Ham game and the Liverpool game. People fighting in the streets over football, you know. I think it's going to be an absolute bloodbath. I honestly think so. I wouldn't be going to the game, even if I wanted to. I wouldn't take a free ticket to go to the derby. And
it's a shame.
Yeah,
it's a friendly derby.
Well, it used to be great, Trish, yeah, you know, but it's gone. I know part of it is the way society's gone. I'm not saying it's all down to football, but football like that, I don't want to know it. You know, there's a nasty side to it.
The moment you started segregating sports fans at football matches, which is only a recent thing, it must be said. It's only just prior, and it started the form, you know, the tribalism and all that only came along after. You know what I mean? The hooliganism and all that wasn't around before. There'd be pitch invasions and sometimes, but it wasn't like it is now, where you've got organised fighting all the time.
Yeah. That's the internet, though, Chris. And the internet is part of the problem, you know.
Oh, that really makes it worse. But it's been going on since long before that, since the 70s and 60s even. I mean, my mum will tell you stories about when she was going to games and getting attacked and stuff, like, you know, in the fights. There's always been problems.
It's more prevalent now since the internet. People are organising fights on the internet, you know, organised gang fights, meeting up for a fight and all. Just absolutely ridiculous. Is it society? Is it football? I think it's a bit of both. But yeah, it's not a game I'd want to go to. I'll be honest with you.
No, it's going to be horrible.
I think so, Trish, yeah.
I'm glad my auntie's retired and isn't going to be working at it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, you wouldn't want to be going to it. But I've said that the next two games for Everton are Arsenal or Liverpool. And you couldn't want to face two worse opponents if you're in trouble than them two. And you wouldn't, though, would you?
No,
you know, your local rivals in Liverpool and the top of the league, who, let's be honest about it, you can't see Everton getting anything against Arsenal, can you, really?
No.
You couldn't against Man City, I'll say that, the other week, and you got a 1-1 draw, more through luck than judgment. But, yeah, you know, they're two really hard games, and it could be a drift at that time after them two games. And then, if we do get a drift, at the moment, we're still only 3 points off 14th place, which is a win of 14th place. So I'm not saying that, you know, it's written in stone that they're going to go down. But the way everything is at the club, you can see it going that way. You know, the faith has gone from the supporters. They can't see us actually surviving this year, even though they could last year, which I didn't think we would. I thought we'd go down last year. But nothing has improved at the club. It's actually got worse.
Yeah.
So, and we only escaped by the skin of our teeth anyway last year. And I don't think I honestly don't think we're going to survive this year.
So you don't think, even if, say, Pep Guardiola or someone of that ilk turns around and says, I'll take the job, you still think you'd go down?
Klopp or Guardiola would not save Everton at the moment because of the other things going on. It's not just down to the manager. That's why I've got a little bit of sympathy for Frank. I think he's had a hard job, but anyone would have had a hard job at Everton, the way things are in the whole club, starting from the boardroom down.
Okay.
And go on.
I just wanted to ask you. Sorry, no, I just wanted to ask you a question. If you could have any, two questions, really, I suppose. First one is, if you could have anyone in world football to manage the club, who would it be? And the second one be, who would your realistic choice be?
Right. Well, can I go with a realistic one first, which is
Yep.
Sean Dyche.
Okay.
He'd be my realistic one. He's a good football man. He's out of work at the moment, so we wouldn't be paying a compensation fee for him. He gets teams working. All his teams work hard. He's a good organiser. He's a good man manager. And I think he'd be the perfect fit for Everton in this situation we're in at the moment. If I could pick a manager, it'd probably be Sean Dyche again, for the simple reason that I can't see what another manager coming in would give us. I'm not that opposed to Bielsa. I think if he wants to start and rip up the club and start again, I think it'd be a damn good idea. So I'm not too adverse to Bielsa coming in. You know, even long term, but he doesn't stay long term really. He does a couple of years, maybe a year, and then back out. But it's hard to pick someone like a Nagelsmann or someone like that to come in. You know, Simeone, someone like that. They couldn't actually get Everton to a decent standard. Even them, you know, sure they're probably better managers. Well, Simeone is horrible, but he does. His teams do get results. But even good managers like that, you know, Klopp or Pep, I don't think that they could actually do a job at Everton in the foreseeable future. Things might change. The club might get back and you know, start running like a proper football club should, and then, as I say, you'd be looking at the likes of Nagelsmann, Pep Guardiola, Klopp, all the big ones who you'd want at your club, because you want them people at your club because they're successful and they're winners. But I can't see anyone who would have from outside who we could come in and say, I want him, you know.
You didn't even consider Gareth Southgate then? You wouldn't consider him?
I think he'd be more of a problem than what Frank could be, to be honest with you. I'm not a fan of his managerial style. I'm not a fan of the way he bigs up his sides. And I know it's all about confidence, but he's not a man for me who's got the tactical know-how to. He's had the best players all round, and they've done nothing at tournaments really. Got to the final of the Euros, I suppose you can say that, but never went on to win it when they should have won it.
Well, they never
so
faced anybody
he's a bit
any good.
wishy-washy.
I
know, but he's got good players at his disposal. Yeah. He had great players at his disposal and couldn't do what he should have been doing.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's the man to this. Would you say he was the man you'd want to take over your club?
Oh God, no! It was just because I just seen an article just came up in the newsfeed where he's told the BBC that he considered walking away from England because of criticism. Oh Christ, you could have done us all a favour. Why didn't you just fuck off this shite? He's such a shite. He really is.
No.
I don't understand how he's still in a job. Why did they want him to stay? I don't understand it. He's shockingly bad.
I thought after the World Cup he would have gone, to be honest with you. I really expected him to walk. I think he's done his time, and he's clinging on by his fingertips at the moment, and that's the last thing he wants in England manager.
He should never have got the job in the first place. He was a failed manager
with
Middlesbrough. And England youth coach who wasn't doing a good job in England youth either. So how does he get out? That's just beggars belief, really. It shows why England is shit. They don't win anything anymore. At the top level.
We should move on from Everton now. I think I've certainly had my say about Everton. And how disappointed I am in the club.
Should we? We'll do something a little different then. Should we talk about? Possibly. I mean, why not bring him in as your next manager? Gareth Bale. He wants to play golf. There's plenty of good golf courses around the area.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, you could.
Because he's retired to play golf now.
I know. To be honest with you, what a waste of talent he is. He's a talented player, Dale, but what an absolute potherb of a fella. You know what I mean? When he's putting all these lists out of who he'd rather play for than his own club, Real Madrid. He's going to play golf. He's going to play for Wales, play golf, and then Real Madrid, play for Real Madrid. Now, why'd you come out with stupid statements like that? A team who was paying him what, £400,000 a week?
And a bit more than that, I think it was.
And he's one of these people that shouldn't be anywhere near a football club, really. And I think it was you was talking about he shouldn't have went to the World Cup. He hadn't played, he was injured, and it was just all self-indulgence for him to go there.
Yeah, it was all about him. And Ramsey, Aaron Ramsey, the same.
Aaron Ramsey, exactly the same, yeah.
And they both let Wales down when it mattered.
I don't know what they've got to pick from. Yeah, but it was all about them, it wasn't about the team. And they're the type of people who are ruining the game at the moment, just out for their own ends, not part of a team, don't want to be part of a club.
But the fact that he's shouting his mouth off about he's retired and now he's going to play golf, he's shouting his mouth off about getting in a tournament, you just think, do you not have any self-respect? You know what I mean? I mean, do you not see how that looks? You've retired. Everyone's laughing at you for being a golfer rather than a footballer anyway. You've been stealing people's money for years as a pretend footballer, malingering so you can play golf instead of training. And then as soon as you retire, you actually enter golf tournaments. I mean, it's one thing for someone like, say, Michael Jordan to retire and go and play baseball or golf or whatever. Nobody's going to question that because the man did everything and he was absolutely outstanding and so far ahead of the rest. But when you've got Gareth Bale doing it, you just think, you twat. You completely just shows what your thought was. All you were bothered about was playing golf rather than playing. And people are paying this, and it's not like he played in a country. He's played for Spurs. You might say they're in a rich area. There's plenty of money, so the fans who are paying the money aren't going to be likely to be poor. I can understand people saying that, but I disagree. But then he's played for Real Madrid, where it was particularly, noticeable that he just wasn't trying. Spain's a very poor country. Those people that are going along to watch him, the vast majority of them haven't got it. Two eight needs to rub together. And this bastard's stealing £400,000 a week or whatever in wages off the club while he's just malingering.
But how much did he actually play there, Trish? If you went down. I don't know the stats. He was always injured. And still going to golf when he was injured. So,
yeah, I mean,
it's just believe.
He got in, big trouble with them because when he was injured, he'd be playing golf rather than resting when he was told to rest, because obviously it damages your back. So where he's doing it, it's not suited to your. I'll have a look now.
No, he'll never go down as a great player, I don't think, because of his attitude. I think he had skill. I think he's a talented lad, but he's one of them people who you don't wish to do well. You know what I mean? I
was just looking in 2021-22, he played 7 times for. In 1920 season, he played 20 times. Sorry, Copa del Rey, as well as 3 Champions League, 16 La Liga. 18-19, he managed to play 29 times in the league. He played most of the time in the league that season. 17-8, but it's after that. It's as his career went on, he got less and less. You see, it's the definite.
Yeah. But he must have lost heart. But there's certain ways to express yourself, isn't there? You should be on the training ground. People are paying you good money. Go on, get on the training ground. Try and do things. Help out with the club. Go if you're not fit enough to play. Go and watch the youth side. Give them some advice. turn up and do things for the club. They're paying your wages, and he just gives nothing back. Gave nothing back at all in football to me. One of them. There's loads of waste of space, but he's certainly one of them.
Oh, it's just embarrassing to see him do that.
Yeah, me as well, too.
Yeah, I mean, no shame.
No, absolutely no shame.
Right,
should we move on to Chelsea, mate?
Do you want to do Chelsea next? Yeah, can do.
Yeah, apparently going in for Fernandes now, or they've made strides to try and sign Fernandes.
They've been trying. He was the first one they tried to sign.
But,
Benfica told them basically they wanted the full
100 million.
What's the release clause money? They wanted that up front in one payment. That was the issue, and Chelsea weren't prepared to reach that amount. Weren't prepared to pay that. As we know, they're paying their deals over 7-8 years.
Yeah. They found a loophole in the law, the UEFA law, that if they spread the payments over a certain amount of time, if you pay 70 million for a player and you've got him on a 7-year contract, against FFP, that's only 10 million a year. I know only, I'm saying only, but it's 10 million a year rather than paying the full fee up front. And so they spent, in this window, if they got Fernandes, it'd be $500 million that they'll have spent on transfers. Go on, sir.
I was just going to say, my worry with what they're doing is, I can see why people are saying this is a good reason why UEFA are saying we need to shut this loophole of them being able to give not just a 5-year contract, but then having extension available to them, a club option available to them afterwards for 2 years or whatever. I can see why UEFA is saying, oh, this is a loophole we need to close or whatever, but do you not think this is how Leeds, etc., Portsmouth, teams like that got into trouble? Is they were paying. I mean, I know Chelsea aren't actually paying over 8 years or whatever. They're just putting it in the account. But you're still you're tying yourself down to these big, long, expensive contracts with players on big money. If they don't work out, you're stuck with these players. You're not going to get much of the money back. You know what I mean? So if they don't work out, they're in trouble. They're really gambling the farm, I think.
Yeah. I think they're going to be in massive trouble. But I can see other teams, Liverpool, one of them, who haven't got that much money, I'd say, because of what they've been doing, buying on the Never Never. Trying to get in on that, and said he wants a Bellingham, and they could get him over 8 years, an 8-year contract.
I believe that was the idea, that was the plan, that was the whole thinking in the first place, how they were going to get him, is spread it over like that, but I think now they might not be able to do it, so I don't know. I'm sure they'll find the money though, even if it means selling. I mean, they can sell a few forwards now.
Yeah, loads of them.
Yeah, I mean, Salah's now, is he... That's it anymore. He's not playing well. Could he be surplus? Certainly raise a few quid.
Yeah. Maybe Jota, who doesn't seem to be. I know he's been injured, but
yeah, as I say, he's
always been a bit of a big player. But
I think Firmino will probably leave if this, you get the wages off the books. Firmino, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Keita. A few others.
Yeah.
Could be an interesting summer actually for teams like Liverpool. The ones that are a bit tight on it. Man United, if they haven't been taken over as well.
Yeah.
Going to be interesting to see how they manage as well, because they're tight on FFP if they don't get bought out.
Yeah. I was reading that it looks as though a buyer's going to come in. I know we were talking last week about a buyer coming in for them. But, Are they going to close this loophole down? Would they be allowed to? I don't know.
Oh, I think they'll certainly close it because it's meant to be 5 years. It was meant to be the maximum. So not tight. I think I just think it's a big risk to take, and I know you might be losing a lot of
Yeah,
money, but I think I wouldn't want to time these players to my club for 7, 8 years because if
yeah,
there's huge wages, you could be in real trouble. If it's a bit of a
yeah,
flop, you're in trouble. Like the situation Everton's in. You've got all these players.
yeah,
You've been having to just basically, apart from Richarlison, you're having to give them away rather than sell them, and
yeah,
and it's difficult to do that. Liverpool have already got Keita stuck on the books because couldn't offload him because his
yeah.
contract's
Same
too
as
high.
Yeremina for Everton.
Yeah,
Yeremina's on £120,000 a week.
exactly. Imagine if
And
he'd
he's
got an
he's
8-year
playing
contract.
6 or 7 games,
Mm.
6 or 7 games a year. He's averaging.
Yeah, imagine if
You
him
know,
and
so
Keita had got 8-year contracts. You're stuck with those bastards for how long?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you just
yeah.
can't get
It's
rid of
not
them.
when you bring anyone else in.
Yeah, exactly. So, yes, I think Chelsea have taken a huge risk, and I know some of the players look good. Mudryk, anyway.
Yeah,
Actually,
we've only
one of
seen
the
a bit of
players.
him. He's only a kid.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's
yeah.
only a kid yet.
He's the only one that's actually impressed. Actually, thinking about it, of the newbies. So,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah. I mean, you don't want a club to be in financial difficulties, but it wouldn't be the first time for Chelsea because that's why Roman Abramovich was swooped in to get them in the first place because they were on the verge of bankruptcy under Ken Bates because
yeah,
he's managed to destroy a few other clubs since then as well.
yeah.
Yeah,
Didn't he go to Leeds as well?
yeah,
Ken
he had
Bates.
yeah. Don't Oh God, don't get the Leeds fans talking about Ken Bates. They love him. Oh, I think he's
But I think
possibly
it
the
all
most hated
started
man
with
in
Peter
Leeds.
Ridsdale, didn't it?
Oh, he
It
was
started with
first.
Peter Ridsdale with
Yeah,
all these contracts paying players ludicrous amounts to sign for Leeds.
I'm
And
getting
he had a
loans
good
out.
run at the time under
Mm.
the
David
big
O'Leary.
centre half was
David
David
O'Leary.
O'Leary, yeah.
Yeah.
And they were doing quite well, but it's a temporary fix, isn't it? As it proved with Leeds, it's stick and plaster, and that call all come unstuck, and they ended up in
Well,
division the championship.
you've only got to look at what's happening with Barcelona and Real Madrid for that matter. I mean, this is the club that earned the highest revenue in world football for as long as I can remember. They've always had a huge revenue, Real
Yeah,
Madrid, and yet their spending now is like they're struggling to spend money because they spunked out so much in the past. On the Galacticos and stuff. It's people
yeah, yeah.
people think it was successful, but I mean, it won them Champions League, but it hasn't really put them in a strong position for the long term. It's short term
No, there's
fixes.
no longevity in it.
Yeah, and now
It's quick fixes.
now they've changed over to go in for long term. Looking at they've brought in like players like Vinicius Junior and that. They've been trying to find all the next big thing before they become the big thing.
Yeah,
And it seems to be doing they're in a much better position. Whereas Barcelona are back to going for quick fixes, and yeah, they're an utter mess, aren't they, financially? And I think that's
yeah.
where
There's a
Chelsea are
lot of
putting
clubs.
themselves.
Yeah, there's a lot of clubs who are going to struggle over the next few years.
Mm.
Even to a point, Liverpool,
Mm.
because they're not in the best financial situation, and they've done so well. They've won European Cups, they've won the league, they've won the Super Cup, they've won the World Champion, and they are in trouble. So what chance has the rest of the teams got when it's a sellout every game at Anfield?
For me, at Liverpool, the problem was I know everyone seems to rave about Michael Edwards and what a wonderful job he did, bringing in all these players that people raved about, raving about him doing it. Well, all he did was the negotiations. He didn't actually choose any of them. He's not responsible as such. The way people made it out, it's like he'd scouted them himself personally and chose them from thousands he'd scouted. He didn't do any of that. All he did was Jurgen Klopp and the transfer committee would tell him which players to sign. He'd go and sign them. But he's hamstrung the club because we've got one of the biggest, huge wage bill for players like
Wage bill,
Keita,
yeah.
Oxlade, Chamberlain. They're all on big money, and it's fine having a Salah on big money.
And the highest agents fees as well.
Yeah, exactly.
That they paid, which is another on cost that people don't take into consideration.
Oh yeah, and that's like more
like
than a
Naby
transfer.
Keita, what you were saying before. I'm not having a go at him personally, but Naby Keita hasn't produced the goods for Liverpool. And they're hamstrung now because they can't get rid of him.
And it's not just, I mean, you've got to look at, not just did they invest in him, but they bought him like a year in advance. They invested in him a year before, a year of investment in paying his wages and that, before they even got him at the club. I mean, this huge amount of money is wasted on this. And this is a deal that he made. He could have turned around and said, we can't get a deal done if you get him now. And I'm sorry, I know you want him next year and you're desperate to have him. We'll go back and try and get him then. I'm not going to do, we're not going to do it. We're not going to be stupid about it. We've got to look at, we've got a limited set of finances. We've got to spend them, apportion them properly. And they didn't. And Liverpool are, struggling financially compared to the likes of Chelsea and Manchester City, for instance. I mean, okay, we know they use all the loopholes that they can.
Yeah,
swap players around from club to club, like Watford and Udinese do. They swap them around so they can, so you never know which players belongs to which club, and then they get all the good youth players into their squad that they can then sell to make money, like those ones that went to Southampton and that. I mean, there's a lot of swap.
The sponsorship deal as well.
Yeah,
they can put as much through the sponsorship books as they want to pay for advertising for
there's no way you're telling
Emirates Stadium.
There's no way you're telling me that club is getting a full house every week, like is claimed in there. They always record a full house, but you've watched them on TV. How often have you ever seen that stadium full? It's a joke. It's a standing joke. It's not just the Champions League where they're in dispute. I get that.
It's just buy the tickets.
Somebody does, but it's certainly not the fans because there's nobody in the ground. And you're not telling me all them people, there's half a stadium haven't bothered turning up each week because it just doesn't happen. I'm sorry. You just don't buy tickets and not go. Even if you can't go, you give it to your mate or something. If you bought a ticket, if the ticket's been sold, your mate's going. I used to use my uncle's season ticket all the time because he couldn't go, or he'd be working at the ground anyway as he'd be doing match day entertainment or hosting in one of the boxes and stuff like that. So he never needed the ticket. So I used to have it, but you wouldn't leave it empty.
No, you wouldn't. No.
It's just So they can do a lot. Liverpool can't do that. Everton can't do that. So they've got to be parsimonious with their money. They've got to be careful, and neither club have done it, and that's why they're both struggling now. There's only so much. There's only so much a great manager can do to hold it together, and Klopp's worked miracles, if you ask me, to get the club to where it is. But I mean, it's starting to hit home now. It's struggling, and it needs a needs a rebuild, and it's gonna be a slow process because you can't just go out and buy everyone you need. Unless you're Man City.
No.
Or Chelsea.
It's like quick fixes, isn't it? You might win the league, you might win a cup, whatever, but then you're hamstrung, aren't you, for a rebuild, which is what Liverpool possibly need. They need quite a few players, I'd say. Are they in the financial situation where they can get them? I don't know. They might get one player, a really good player like Bellingham.
But the thing is, you've got players like Beatic coming through. And you only have to look at the way Harvey Elliott and Carvalho have been scapegoated, and Jones since he's been. Every time they're always getting the blame for the bad performances and that. Harvey Elliott's getting so much stick now. And you're thinking,
he is. Yeah, he's been the scapegoat, Harvey.
Yeah, he's just a kid playing there. If he's not playing the role right, well, that's how he learns, is by playing.
You can see him trying, can't you? He tries his heart out. He runs his heart out. And he still gets stiff off the supporters. I don't
understand it. No, I don't get it. And this is what worries me, is that the club is in a position they could do the rebuild by bringing, a lot of it could be done through the youth team, but are the fans going to stand for it? And this is the problem we've got in football now. They just want a quick fix.
Yeah.
Everyone wants it now. No, you only have to
Yeah,
look
they
at the
do,
way they're
yeah.
moaning on the sites. Everyone can't. Nobody can sit and have patience and say, "Well, I can settle for a couple of years and not being able to win anything." As long as you can see the club moving forward for the long term, but nobody wants that. Nobody cares.
Oh, no. The microwave society.
Yeah.
It is. Everyone everything now. It's like not just going away from football. But you see these kids get married now, pay £27,000 for a wedding, both got a car each and a house and all nice furniture. We used to save up for that, and that's what's happening in football now, you know what I mean?
Yeah, everything's on tick.
You want everything now. You don't want to wait and save up for it or go through the youth policy. But that's ruining the game for me, not using youth. And that's why I'm so happy for youth to be used,
Yeah,
especially young local lads coming through and all that. Don't have to be local, don't we, But to see a young kid coming through the academy or coming through, not being bought for a lot of money and coming through and getting into the first team, I think it's great. But
I think it's the best
supporters
thing.
want it. Yeah, supporters want it right away. Do you want you to sign these big names and you end up with players like Keita then?
Yeah, I wonder. Do you know how many of them would have been around at the time, like Michael Owen? And I think they forget what it was, what it's like when Fowler and Owen and that were coming through. They didn't just jump into the first team and were ready-fledged, full, scoring 95 goals a season. I mean, Owen was basically a substitute for a long time. And Fowler was playing alongside Rush, was bringing him on for years. It took a while. I mean, yes, they had fantastic talent, but they didn't just emerge as fully fledged superstars.
No.
They had to be developed. And I do fear for the game. It just doesn't see. You've got teams like Chelsea. They've got the best youth system in Europe, and it's just looking to. They're going to buy it out and get rid of all the youth players by the looks of it now.
Yeah.
It's utterly bizarre. It makes no sense because these players they should be building the team around the players like Mount, and instead it looks like they're going to be getting rid of him. And he's another one. He's another whipping boy. He gets so much abuse. And you just think, I don't see how it's his fault that the managers haven't figured out how to use him best. Whenever they does have a few good games, they shift him to a different position for the next one. So how's he meant to settle in and play well?
He won't well. You're buying people like Mudryk. I'm not against Mudryk, by the way. He looks a decent young player. But, wouldn't it be better to use one of the lads you brought through from the academy, or a lad who's been with the reserves and, gets his chance, makes his way up? And for me, it's that way.
Well, this youth policy they've got, it's a loan policy, I mean. I know Ed 2 thinks it's a really good system and it works really well, but how many players have come through from this loan system they've got? How many players have actually made it into the first team? They were sending out like 100 players on loan, near as damn it. How many of them have ever made it? And it's just not. It can't be working. Otherwise, they'd be getting a larger proportion of them coming through to the first team, and they're not. They're getting virtually none.
No.
So for me, it's clearly failing. So they need to look at it.
But every club seems to be the same, though, Tris, don't they? It's not one club's doing it like Chelsea. Everyone's doing it, though. And I fear that the young kids coming through because they don't seem to be getting a chance.
Well, yeah, and they can't get, because everyone hoards massive teams now because they have these massive squads because they've only got a transfer window to go and buy players. It makes it even more difficult. This is my big thing, and I've said this. I go on about this every single transfer window. I think, they need to get rid of them. It doesn't help. The only reason they did it is because the Italians and that wanted it, and they do it because they want dodgy dealings. That was all it was about. It's it's for backhanders and that. It works better having a transfer window because you can, as an agent, you can maximise your revenue by only having a limited opportunity of time for things to happen,
to get a player in, yeah.
yeah, teams will pay more. They'll pay a lot more to these agents to get a deal done than they would do if they've got 9 months of the year to sign them. Like it used to be,
Yeah.
the window would close in March. You know what I mean? It'd just be open all season, and then it'd close in March, and it'd open again when the season finished until March again. So it'd be open for like 9, 10 months of the year, and it never
Yeah.
caused a problem. I don't know why people say about it being unsettling. How is it any different now? Is it unsettling? It's unsettled. People are moaning about the players being unsettled now. I mean, it's making it shorter just makes it worse because players have got
And you
like 9 months
you
before they can
touched
make.
on before about what's happening with Harvey Elliott. I was absolutely disgusted with some of the Liverpool supporters, by the way, the way they've been bullying him. You know, I think he's a good kid. I think he's talented. I think he's only young. I think they're the type of people you want on your side, you know? You want them to do well.
He's being written off.
If he makes a few mistakes or gives the ball away, he's the worst player ever they've signed. Get rid of him.
Oh, they've decided
I
now.
can't understand them.
He's never going to be good enough because he's not Mbappe quick, so he can't make it as a winger apparently. Well, Mbappe's not a winger anyway, so what difference does that make?
No.
What's that got to do with anything? And they just on him everything. He's not. They've decided he's already not good enough. The kid's like 19, is he? I can't remember.
Something like that.
He's still only a teenager, I'm sure. If at 20 at the most. I mean,
yeah, 20 at the most. That's true.
You give him time. He's still a kid. He's still got a lot to learn in football terms. You know,
He's still got a lot to offer as well.
Yeah.
I think. I really do.
Yeah, people just expect it to be a youth player to come in and be brilliant. You know, for 99 games out of 100, and they just can't. Nobody's that consistent as a youth. That's what experience.
It's still growing. It's still growing as well. You know, you don't see what happened with Gerrard with the growing pains he had. You know, before he actually comes to fruition. You know, you know, you got to give players time. Give them encouragement. You should be thanking your lucky stars that you've got players like Carvalho, Harvey Elliott and Bacic coming in. You know, they're good young players. Give them a chance. Where else do you learn? You won't learn playing away a crew, will you, really, to the standard you want to. Give them a shot. Give them a run.
Well, Bacic has just
anyway.
signed a new contract, and he's been one of the better players in the last few games. So, you know,
But you've got Doak as well, who looks as though he could be a talent. You know, I've been impressed with him.
Yeah, he looks.
Liverpool have got a few good youngsters.
I mean, you've got to give them a chance. They've got to play. That's the thing until they develop.
I think so, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and hopefully the fans will actually get behind them rather than moan about them. It really bugs me, that does. I don't see how you can decide a kid is not good enough on your first watch. No, it's different if he's 25, 26. But even that, I mean, one game they're writing them off if they play badly, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's just.
It's not going to change that, though.
No, I think it's something that's just going to get worse over time, to be honest. People are just going to get more.
They want the finished article, yeah. People are looking for the finished article.
I mean, they play these football manager games and that, and they must know, you know, players develop on that over time. So it can't be the games causing a problem. Like everyone seems to think it's about, you know, it's FIFA and football manager. But in that, if you're playing the management versions, they change as well. You know? Yeah. They develop over time, become better players or worse players depending on. So, you know, they can't be that's causing the problem. It's clearly not, you know, it's not about playing too many good video games. It's quite the opposite of anything. Maybe if they played a bit more of them, they might have a bit more patience with them and realise they need to develop over time.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think
we should get on to Juventus.
Yeah, I think we need to talk about that, don't we?
Yeah, go on first.
Okay, so the Juventus getting the 15-point deduction. I mean, Paratici, interestingly enough, is now Tottenham sporting director. Has also been banned for 2.5 years on top of it for his part in it, because he was the main instigator of it all. And obviously,
Yeah.
a bunch of members of the board and Nedved and that have all been received different bans as well. And I think Nedved got 8 months, and Maurizio Arriva-Bene was with the Ferrari Formula One team. He was head of that for a while before going on to the, I think, CEO at Juve. He's got I think it's 15-month ban and things like that. So yeah, I mean, what they did is they falsely inflated the value of the signings they were making. Another FFP way of getting around FFP is similar to what Chelsea are doing. Is they were not just buying them on, putting them on 5-year, the full length contract they could, which 5 years is the actual limit, and giving them a club option, but they were also saying that they were actually valued at a lot higher amount. They were doing deals with other teams where they were doing, they were valuing players at inflated fees in the transfer, even though there was not the money for that wasn't actually changing hands because they were swapping players and that, but they were just valuing the players at a ridiculously high amount for it, they were caught
Well, when
out.
does the 15 points come into it? Does it come in this year, or is it the start
Yes,
of
it's
next?
this season. They'll be down. I think it's 10th place. They'll be down to now.
All right. I wasn't sure on that.
It doesn't really make a big difference. It doesn't seem like enough of a battle. I mean, it doesn't seem to really make a lot of difference. Just put them out of Europe, won't it, at the most, really?
Yeah.
And even that, they could still turn it around. I think it's a bit soft, if anything.
Yeah.
Because they've basically what they've done is they've inflated the. I know people are thinking, well, why are you inflating the because they're inflating the money they were the value they were receiving to so they could put it through for FFP, saying they were receiving a lot more, so they could spend a lot more in the future, even though they didn't actually have them. They weren't even getting, this money wasn't even in the bank, but they were doing favours. And this is another thing about the loan market and why I'm really against allowing loans in because what happens is somebody does it as a favour, loans a player to another club, and then they'll call it, they've got a favour owed then, and that shouldn't be allowed. You shouldn't be owing another team a favour, because you can then put pressure on them to get, to loan you players or sell your players at reduced fee. That's what was going on.
And it's open to corruption, isn't it? All the time. That loan system.
That's how it works in Italy. That's how they got so, they get into all these match fixing things, because they're doing each other favours and scratching each other's back all the time. All these club directors, and it's really dodgy. They'll loan somebody a player. They, team like, say, Fiorentina will go to AC Milan and say, oh, we need a centre back, and you've got what's his face isn't playing. Can we borrow him for a bit? And they'll say, yeah, but you're going to owe us a favour in the future for that. And it's. And they're playing against, and also they're improving their squad, the squad of another team as well. Which it's
open to corruption, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Just get rid. It should just scrap the loan system altogether. Nobody should be loaning anyone anywhere. You've only got to look at what happened when Ferguson lent those. You remember his son got sacked?
Yeah.
Was it Preston North End he had them at low? He was in charge of, and he loaned them a bunch of young players. And as soon as his son got sacked, he recalled them all. So they were suddenly half their squad had gone, like, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. It's just open to abuse. Things like that.
Yeah.
Get rid of it. It's there's no need for it, to be honest. But Juve have past masters at this anyway, aren't they? If there's corruption in football, Juve are usually involved in it.
Yeah, of course they are. Yeah.
When Dr. Fuentes was handing out drugs like Skittles. Sorry, Skittles the sweet, not Skittles the bowling thing.
Skittles.
Yeah. He was handing them out, all these, when they was all these. Juve were one of the main clubs involved in the scandal. That, like, as they weren't the only ones. I mean, there was Valencia, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Spanish national team, which had won the World Cup at the time, and that, it was when they were dominating. They were involved with Fuentes and that. But yeah, Juve always involved in it. They're always there. So it's no surprise. I just find it bizarre that a club with such a bad record of being involved in match fixing, etc., over a course of many years, and repeated and repeated and repeated convictions, and yet they're only getting a 15-point deduction. Surely you have to increase the penalty over time. Each time they do something wrong, surely you have to be a bit tougher on them because it's a repeat offence.
You would think so, wouldn't you? You know, but it doesn't always work out that way, does it? Unfortunately.
I just think they're getting, they should be. It should be a relegation. That's got to be a relegation, surely. The punishment for that has to be.
I can see why you're saying that. Yeah.
I mean, they got relegated down to the. You got to remember when they were match fixing, they were relegated down to the bottom tier. That was the punishment. But then they appealed, so they only got relegated one division. Of course, they were straight back up virtually. So
yeah,
it hardly really bothered them at all, as you can see, because they dominated Italian football not long afterwards. So they cheat. It's about time you've got to do something to stop it. Otherwise, well, how can you believe anything's fair?
Yeah, that's UEFA all over, isn't it? You know, it's
it's not UEFA.
It's soft.
It's the Italian Football Federation, the FIGC, that
right,
punished him. They've asked for the bans and that to be made. They've asked UEFA and FIFA to make them, to apply the bans Europe and worldwide. But so far, I don't think Paratici's ban's been extended beyond Italy yet, which is interesting. I'm assuming it will be. Normally they just do. But obviously he's still got the chance to appeal yet. I don't see how they can get away with it. They've got him on tape. They've got they got surveillance tape, because this wasn't like the Italian Football Federation that did it. This was the government themselves did an investigation after they got away with it, because they were investigated. There was 11 clubs, I think it was, initially were investigated, taken, tried for it and got away with it, basically. And then somebody produced more evidence about you. The government decided to step in and say, well, hang on, we've got this. So they actually started doing things like surveillance on them, bugging the phones, listening in on phone calls and that. And you've got Paratici saying about, well, we can just basically he's saying, well, we can just put whatever price we like on them. Nobody can really argue because nobody actually knows what the value of these players is. So we'll just pick a price. I throw it at, and the other guy, the guy who's, his underlings, kind of saying to him, well, we need to make it realistic. And he's saying, well, add more, go, basically he's just saying, don't say 10 million, we could say he's worth 100 million, and things like that, and you're thinking, oh god. So, they're banged to rights, they've been got banged to rights, surely you've got to give them more than 15 points.
Yeah, you'd think so, wouldn't you? You really would.
I think they've got lucky, and Paratici's lucky to only get 30 months. See, these kind of things should be a you're not in football anymore kind of situation for me.
Yeah, it just shows you how corrupt the whole game is, really, doesn't it? It's not just Juve, it's other teams as well, other countries. Well, it's so widespread corruption in all of football for me.
Well, everyone knew about this thing as well. This wasn't like a loophole that they exploited that nobody knew about. The reason why they've got hit is because they were just so ridiculously, they're doing like Chelsea are doing now, where they're just taking it to the nth degree, and it's making it obvious what's going on to anyone, and that's what Juve did. They just went ridiculous with it, and so everyone said, "Oh, hang on a sec, everyone does it, but you're taking the piss," That's basically what's happened. Yeah. So, they're lucky, in my opinion. And Paratici shouldn't be allowed in football anymore, but, I'm not so sure he's any good at his job anyway.
No.
What's he done?
No.
Has he done good at Spurs? Do you think he's brought in good signings there?
Not really, I wouldn't say. It's not what I say, what a good job he's done with.
Not for the money they've spent, no.
No.
No. Shall we move on then to, I think while we're on the
Go
subject of
on.
disciplinary matters, I think we just need to touch quickly on the Danny Alves thing. He was arrested for an alleged sexual
Yeah.
assault, but like the big story obviously isn't that, because obviously we don't know whether he's guilty or not. But it's shabby. I mean, how insensitive is it to come out and say when he's asked about it, to just say, "Oh, I feel really bad for Danny. Oh, I'm really bad." Say the guy, what about the victim, possible victim? Shouldn't you be,
Absolutely.
to have a bit of sensitivity? You're better off just saying nothing. Saying, it's a legal situation. I think we can't talk about it. That's all he had to do, is say, I can't really talk about that. And
Yeah.
nobody's going to complain about that. Everyone say, yeah, fair enough. You got a point there. Yeah, we shouldn't really have been talking about it because there's a legal case coming up. But instead, just say that. I mean, fucking hell.
Yeah, going out and supporting this play. Yeah, it's
Oh.
for things like that, you just should say nothing rather than open your mouth. She just makes yourself look soft like he has.
Yeah, I mean, there was no need to say it anyway. There was no need to say he felt bad for his mate. He doesn't need to say
No.
anything. It's just a really stupid thing to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree, mate.
Is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, I'm sick of talking about Everton. No, mate, there's not much else happened. Looks as though the final of the League Cup is going to be between Manchester United and Newcastle. Don't know if you caught any of the games yesterday and Tuesday.
No, I haven't caught them yet. I was busy.
Newcastle got a good result. 1-0 away at Southampton. Puts them in the driving seat. United 3-0 yesterday. Another great goal by Marcus Rashford, by the way. He's playing out of his skin. He's doing really well. And they look a decent unit. I can only say what I've said over the last month or so, 2 months. The Ten Hag's looks as though he's doing a really good job at United. Not the easiest club to come into.
A year ahead, at least, of where you'd expect them to be, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
And I know they've got, like I was saying on the Man United site earlier, I think, they've been lucky in that it's coincided with Man City and Liverpool having a down year, so it's made them look even more impressive this year. But even putting that aside, well, for starters, you can only take advantage of a down year if you perform. You know what I mean? You can't. Yeah. If they could have still been playing the same way they've been playing before, it wouldn't have mattered how bad everyone else was, because they'd still been shit. But they're not, because he's turned them in, and it's not just. Everyone thought he was just a bit of a sergeant major type, disciplinarian. But he's shown he's more than that. He's got man management skills. The way he's handled Rashford.
And he dropped him a week ago because he never turned up for training. Turned up late.
He was late,
his best player. Pulling his tripe out, really playing well. And he had the balls to drop him and say, you're dropped for this game because you were late for training.
Yeah, and the way he dealt with Ronaldo
as well. The way he dealt with Ronaldo was fantastic. He was taking the piss, and he said, "You're off. I don't want you on the side." And I think Ten Hag has been the best thing that's happened to United for a good number of years.
Yeah,
and, people like that, even if you're not a big fan of Man United, they deserve respect for the way he's come in and turned them round. And they're playing good stuff as well. They're good to watch, United.
Yeah,
I think he's done really well.
They are entertaining. That's what bothers me. Is you can't even say. Yeah, but at least they play in shit football. Like, there's nothing you can say that can cheer yourself up as a fan of a rival of theirs. There's nothing you can say about them to make yourself feel better about them doing well, because there isn't really anything. Especially as you can see that they could still, there's still a few players short of a full squad.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? They still need a few in midfield to actually build a proper team, and that's worrying.
But the lad in midfield who had the heart attack, I can't think of his name. Ericsson. He's done really well for them, He controls everything in that middle for me. I think he's been exceptional. I
I'm
really do.
still not convinced by him. I still think he's a very average player. He's a bit lazy getting
I think
back.
he makes them tick. I think he makes them tick. What I've seen of them this year.
I think Casemiro does personally.
Yeah,
I,
Casemiro's been a good addition as well.
I'm not his biggest fan, but I think he's stepped up a level. I think we discussed it last week though, so I won't get into that again about him playing with his chip on his shoulder. What's the point? I've said it last week, so there's no point going over it again. But yeah, for me, he's the difference rather than Eriksen and Martinez at the back because he's provided fire, and aggression and drive, which is something they were badly missing.
Yeah, I think he's done really well, and congratulations to him for the way he's turned the United's fortunes round. And they look a decent outfit, and it wouldn't surprise me if they're top 4 this year.
Yeah, worrying me.
Yeah, I think Tottenham are going to be Liverpool's best way of getting in the top 4. I think they'll drop because I don't see Tottenham as a very good side, I think they've got a few good players. But Son, the regression in Son has been amazing. He's got 3 goals and 3 assists, I think, this season. And when you look at the other season he's been fantastic. I think he's a great player.
Can I just point something out, though, before you go on about
Tottenham
being the best out getting in the top 4? Tottenham are 5th.
Yeah, I know, but they're only 3 points behind 4th. 3 points behind Man United, I think.
Yeah, Man United and Newcastle are on 39. Tottenham on 36.
Yeah, so, they're in the mix. That's what I'm saying. I don't think they're going to get there. I think Newcastle might falter a bit as well. I'm looking for ways in for Liverpool, by the way, to get into the top 4. It's not going to be easy, but I think Newcastle might drop a bit, and I still think Arsenal are going to be right up there with City. I think that's going to be a close championship race. I think United are going to get possibly the 3rd spot, and I think the 4th spot is going to be between Liverpool, Tottenham, and Newcastle. That's my opinion, anyway.
Well, I think Newcastle could probably rule themselves out of it if they do go and sign Gordon.
Yeah.
That'd be enough to say they're in trouble for me. That'd be that'd be a terrible signing for them. I don't see the need for him. Can you see where he'd fit in? It kind of reminds me of Richarlison to Spurs. That signing hasn't made any sense to me. Still doesn't make any sense to me. I still don't understand what he offers Spurs. It's not that he's a bad player. He's a hard-working player. He's a decent player. Yeah. But he's not what they needed. They needed a player to take them on a level, and instead they bought a player who's just a squad player. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
And that's Paratici.
There's another one, Eddie Howe, who's done well. Punched above his weight for me. Eddie Howe, he's done a good job at Newcastle, but they're missing a centre forward, I think.
But
that's why I think they might go for DCL, actually.
Isaac's not been fit yet. That's the problem, isn't it? He's struggled for fitness, so I think they might just hold on and let him come good. But they're you got to say that a lot of you're saying Howe's done well, but a lot of that is down. They've spent big money. People forget how much they've actually spent. And they've spent it well. None of that's Howe's doing because he does not get involved in transfers. And
right, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he gave it up at Bournemouth as well because he was so bad at it. He admitted himself. He came out and said, "I've been terrible at this. I'm having a disaster. I just can't. My recruitment it's a real weak link in my with the team." And I'm just not signing players who are improving the side. I'm really struggling with it. And he brought in somebody else himself. He stood up and went, this isn't my strength. I'm not good at it. I need somebody else to do it and hand it over. Which I think's a good thing.
That's good, isn't it?
Yeah,
if you're not able to do it, I like that. I'm not good at defensive coaching. People who need a defensive coach, bring one in. Yeah, it's not detrimental to you.
Well, that's what you've got at Newcastle. He's now got. Hang on, I'm gonna have to look him up now. Who he's brought in the coaches?
They're very good. The defensive coach at Newcastle, whoever he is.
Well, that Dan Ashworth, the sporting director's done well. I mean, they're moved to a different way. They're going to scout. They're going to have scouts working by position, like he set up at Brighton before he left. Basically, rather than
Right.
scouting by normally what you do is you scout just an area. Scouts have an area to cover and that's it. But he's doing it a different way, where they scout players, their positions. So like one scout will have he'll be looking at midfielders, another will be looking at
Oh,
say
right.
wingers, another will be looking at strikers. So, but yeah, I mean I think he's brought in who is it? I can't remember. I'm trying to find the guy he brought in to help with
You
it.
know, he's doing very well for them at the moment, Joe Linton. And when he
Yeah,
first
well,
come, I thought, what a waste of
in
money he was.
midfield.
But I tell you what, now they've dropped him into midfield. He was an attacker originally, and or
Yeah,
playing the false nine, and he's come in and he's gone into midfield, and he's been a revelation for Newcastle. And if you watch their games, he's involved in most of their moves. He's really good. Been really impressed by him.
yeah, he's a hard working lad as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I know he's just been done for drink driving and all that, but
yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah. So he's obviously a bit of a knob off the pitch, like they all seem to be. But as a
yeah.
player, yeah, he works hard. He grasps for the team. He's willing to do, sacrifice his own. He was a terrible striker, though, wasn't he? Let's be honest.
Yeah, right. When they
Oh,
first got him, I said, that's the worst signing ever in Premiership history.
he was
And
abysmal up
he
front.
was absolutely awful when he first come. But he's found his niche now and he's playing very well. And one of the reasons Newcastle are right up there, is because of Joe Linton for me.
I think for me, I'd say it's great Guy Mahrez in midfield. Fabulous player. I wish
Yeah,
we'd
he's a good
signed
player.
him. I wish Liverpool had signed him. Tell you.
Everton could have had him for 15 million.
Mm,
Another story that come out. Not only him, could have had Haaland for 16 million as well. Isn't that just Everton all
yeah.
over?
But I mean, yeah, sometimes you get these things go for you, sometimes they go against you. I mean, how many
Yeah,
players have they turned down that have gone nowhere? But nobody will talk about
yeah,
them because it's not a good story, is it? Not interesting.
absolutely not. No,
So, yeah, but yeah, then you got to say, I don't think Haaland would have made much difference because you don't create any chances. But Guy
that's right. That's
Mahrez,
it. Like I was saying to the lads on the site, they're all talking about you need a centre forward. It's no use having a centre forward if you don't create chances for them. Our
yeah,
midfield's absolutely useless. They don't create chances. We've got no wide man. The full-backs don't go past the halfway line. And how are you supposed to create chances for even the best centre forward,
mm, yeah,
Just no
exactly.
good.
Oh,
Right, just I think that's me for this week, mate. And I should go and have my lasagna now.
oh, you fat. Where's mine? What have you got me?
I haven't got you now. I'll send you some lasagna in the post.
If you could, yeah, that'd be great. Yeah. Scouse, could you do with some scouse? And chips, you can't get proper chips here. I miss chips, that's
I
about
love
the
the
only thing.
chips.
Exactly. Could you, gravy and chips, nectar of the gods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so
Alright
thanks
then,
very much.
see you next
I'll see you on the
Thursday.
site, but I'll see you next Thursday
And
as well.
hopefully we won't be talking about Everton next week, cause, apart from excited about how good the new manager is. Fingers crossed.
Let's hope so,
Yeah.
Let's hope so.
Okay.
Right, thanks a lot,
Take
Tris,
care,
and
mate.
I'll see you next Thursday.
Yeah, and thanks anyone
Bye,
that
everyone.
listened. Take care. Bye-bye.
Ta-ra now.
Right, that's it.